For Memorial Day, I want to take just a moment of silence. And before we take a moment of silence, can I just admit that I'm probably not the only one that as soon as you close your eyes and there's silence, you start thinking about 30 different things? Am I the only one that does that? I think that we're trained to have things going on in our head all the time, and it's hard for us just to sit still, but it's good to be able to. Does that make sense? So in this time, I want to give you silence, and I'm going to give you the words to think. Thank you, God, for the lives that came before me, that were willing to sacrifice their lives so that I can be free. And now, can we do the same thing with those who gave their lives so that we could have the Bible in our language? We have a long history of people trying to translate the word into their own language, and they'd get killed for it. But when they read the Bible and understood what it said, these were people who said, I'm willing to risk my life so that other people know the good news that's in this book. They wouldn't have done that for a book of rules. They wouldn't have done that for a history book. But people who gave their lives and were willingly killed because they believed that everyone would benefit from reading this in their language. Let's take a moment and just thank you, God, for those who gave their lives for this word. And now, with one of our key verses being, be still and know that I am God, can we just do a little thought experiment and see what happens to the instruction from Psalm 46:10, where God says, be still and know that I am God? Just can you sit there? What does it feel like to be still and know that He is God? Can you try? Have you ever? Why not now? How was that? For me, it was kind of an internal, you've got this, God. You've got this. And I realized that, that's me cheering him on as if he needed cheering on. And it should have sounded more like an affirmation to myself. God's got this, Sean. God's got this. If you will, flip to Psalm 46 with me. I know that you might not have brought your own Bible. We got pew Bibles you can use. We need your finger oils on as many Bible pages as possible just to, I don't know, it's a good sign. Psalm is in the middle of the Bible, 46, so you'll find that pretty easy. Everybody there? Not bad. About 10 seconds. My little heading says God is our fortress, and your heading might say something different. In the original manuscripts, it doesn't have that. That's an English edition for easy finding. But that other part, you might have a part at the top, or you should have a part at the top of Psalm 46 that says, to the choir master of the sons of Korah, according to Alamoth, a song. You know, this was a song meant to be sung, not to be read, but its words are so good that it's good to read before we sing. You know, that is in the original instruction of this manuscript. It says, to the choir master. That means there was a song leader there in the temple and in the lives of the Hebrew people who would lead singing. He wasn't a performer where everybody gathered around and watched him. He was the one where they watched just so they knew where to be, how to keep beat, and what to sing. And they probably tried to sing louder than him too. I don't know. That next part, the sons of Korah. Does that make any sense to you? I mean, one thing you might be able to tell that David didn't write this psalm. David is accredited with writing most of the other psalms, but this one tells you David didn't write this one. The sons of Korah did. Do y'all know who the sons of Korah are? I guess then you'd have to know who Korah was. If you go all the way back to Numbers chapter 16, we don't have to do that now because I'll just tell you what happens. There's this guy Korah and a whole bunch of other leaders who are getting fed up with having to have faith in God because Moses said so. They started rising up and challenging Moses' authorities, saying, you know, you've been in charge and we haven't seen the promise come true yet. We don't have farms of our own yet. We don't, you know, you did all this talk about getting us out of Egypt and into some promised land, and we're not there, so we're starting to question your leadership. And instead of getting into this battle of, well, God appointed me, and they're like, well, maybe God appointed me, Moses just falls on his face and says, forgive us, O Lord, for being proud. Long story into a short story. The earth opens up and swallows Korah for his rebellion and pride and all the people that were following him. And then the ground covers them up too. Lots of other crazy stuff happens. But here you've got an example of this awful guy in the Bible who is rebelling against Moses, rebelling against God. And if there's anybody you don't want to be a son of, it'd be a son of Korah. It'd be like saying son of Benedict Arnold, right? But a really cool message just in the instructions of this psalm is that it doesn't matter if your dad was evil. Or if you have a bloodline where somewhere along the line they were just awful, or you don't even know them, but you're wearing their name and their DNA, and you carry this baggage with you. The sons of Korah wear his name as a reminder that God doesn't curse the children for the dad. That the one who led the rebellion can have kids that lead the singing. They wear the name of a God who redeems. And some of y'all had great dads, and I'm so proud and good, and increasingly in this world, there aren't many of them. But we are going to do our part here in this church to train each other up as men, encourage each other as men, and encourage each other as the women around us too. We're encouraging each other to rise up. into his redemption and into his calling, because that's the God we serve. So that's cool. Y'all ready to read the psalm now? Follow along with your finger in your eyes. Make sure I'm not lying. My version says, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth gives way, though the mountains be moved into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble at its swelling. Selah. There is a river whose stream make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God will help her when morning dawns. The nations rage, the kingdoms totter. He utters his voice, the earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Selah. Come, behold the works of the Lord, how he has brought desolations on the earth, how he makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the chariots with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Now, there's one thing that would make me the happiest preacher in the world, and that's if my love of the Bible was contagious. And I know we're at various places. Some of y'all read the Bible way more than me and intently than me, and some of y'all are just like, I don't know where to start. Like being here in church listening to it, that's a start. And I tell you, if you just read Psalm 46 the rest of your life, I mean, that's enough to make sense. God's in control. He is our fortress and our strength, our very present help in times of danger. You could read that every day and get it. But then the more you read, the more questions you have. And the more questions you have, the more you go down these rabbit holes like, when was this written? In what context was this written? And it could be the direct sons of Korah who got swallowed up by the earth, and they're looking like, I'm so glad I didn't reject God and challenge Moses. I'm going to write a song about how we walked through this water. And it bulged up on both sides, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountain tremble at its swelling, like that Mount Sinai trembling at the giving of the Ten Commandments. It could have been at that moment, or it could have been as the generations passed on and on, the sons of Korah were still in charge of leading songs as Levites. Priests in charge of music. The ones who were children of a leader of revolt were leading singing in the temple through generations. It could have been that this song was written by the generational sons of Korah in 850 BC. If you make a note of 2 Chronicles 20, there's this king in Judah called Jehoshaphat. Everybody say Jehoshaphat. That's one of those few times you can say fat in a church way. Jehoshaphat. I don't know how much he weighed, but he was Jehoshaphat. He was king. My wife and kid don't think I'm funny. Now, see, that's one of those mnemonic devices where now you're going to remember there's this king named Jehoshaphat. He was king in Jerusalem and Judah, and there were these three groups You ever been on the playground? You kids been on the playground, and all of a sudden different kids are like teaming up to pick on you? Well, Jehoshaphat had the Moabites, the Ammonites, and the Meunites who all came together. They were weaker apart and they got strong together. They didn't like the goodness that Jehoshaphat and the God of Israel did, and they really just wanted to overthrow him. So they worked together. They started marching towards Jerusalem. And can you imagine the people in Jerusalem? I mean, imagine us sitting here being aware that you've got three different groups joining, and their main purpose is to come in here and kill us all. Well, one thing Jehoshaphat did was he sought the Lord. And you know what the Lord told him to do? Hey, thanks for seeking my advice. Watch this. Y'all just stay still. Those three armies took a couple towns, and if Jehoshaphat had gone out to fight them, he would have lost. But because he stayed where he was and watched God at work, whenever these three kingdoms took a couple towns, they started fighting amongst themselves over the spoils of the towns they took. And they all killed each other and had no army left. All Jehoshaphat had to do was sit still and trust God. They walked out and they saw a field of blood. In a battle they couldn't have won. But God did. It could have been during King Hezekiah in 701 BC. This is a fascinating archaeological recent discovery. The Assyrians. The Assyrians, while the north and the south were fighting each other in Israel, and they were fighting amongst the family instead of looking out at who was coming in, the Assyrians were marching. And the Assyrians were wiping out everybody. And the Assyrians came up, and King Sennacherib, I don't even care if I'm saying that right, because he's a bad guy. King Sennacherib encamped around the walled city of Jerusalem. And you see, archaeologists always said, no, those things out there, those are Roman weapons. But they found oval encampments. Only the Assyrians had oval encampments. The Romans had rectangular. So another fascinating thing that the archaeologists found was that all their weapons and bowls and forks were still in the camp, but it was deserted. As if someone fled in a hurry. All right, let me backtrack a little bit. Here's King Hezekiah with the Assyrians surrounding him. An army bigger than theirs, meaner than theirs, and bloodthirsty. All the people were probably scared out of their minds. They were hugging their kids, not knowing if this was going to be the last time they were going to see them. They were thinking about how they were going to die and what they would do, and should they hide, should they fight. And Hezekiah was smart enough to get on his knees and seek the Lord. And he said, God, what do you want me to do? I know you are the God of all good things, and you are the God of our fathers, and you are the God of this promise, and we may have lost our ways, but I'm seeking you now. And God says, I sure am glad you're seeking me now. You just hang tight right there, don't do anything, and watch what I'm going to do. And the account in the Bible is that the angel of the Lord came down from heaven and wiped out the opposing army as they fled. I mean, they fled. Archaeology, the sites, it says they left in a hurry. So King Sennacherib actually kept detailed records. There's Sennacherib's prism. It's this conical thing with straight edges with the histories written. And it talks about that time that they surrounded the city of Jerusalem. And then it goes, yeah, we surrounded the city of Jerusalem, but the king gave us a few gifts, so we left. Yeah. Yeah, you left all your gifts back behind, is what archaeology says. You know, the Greeks actually have a written history of this non-battle, and they said that the army of the Assyrians were telling people that this crazy stuff happened. Like the ground trembled them awake, and they went to get their weapons, but it appeared that mice had chewed through the bowstrings, and so they all ran. And then you have the biblical account where the messenger of God came in and supernaturally ran these foes off at the gates of Jerusalem. I'm pretty convinced, because what we know is they left, and they left in a hurry. You know, whether it was written at these times or not, it makes sense that they would write it after a rebellion, calling to the remembrance of a God who can part a sea and deliver from an approaching enemy. A God who provides water out of rocks and makes bitter water sweet. A God who makes manna fall from the sky and quail enough to stay strong and sandals that don't wear out. It makes sense that this psalm would be written, or at least be sang, as King Jehoshaphat is calling his people to be still. As the gates of hell are approaching, don't do anything, because we serve a God who's real and who will protect us. And it makes sense that it could have been written by the generational sons of Korah, or at least sang as King Hezekiah, and the people are looking over the walls, and the reports are being made of the enemy encampments facing them with fire. And King Hezekiah says, what we're going to do is we're going to seek the Lord, and we're going to worship. Because we worship a God who says, this isn't a battle your hands can fight. Sit back and watch what I can do. Be still and know that I am God. Exodus 14, 13 through 14, right before they crossed the Red Sea, Moses answered the people, do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance of the Lord today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Now, this is not a sermon on, hey guys, let's never do anything. I mean, we just got done doing a big fundraiser event, big block party community event, and it was exciting and exhausting, and people are saying, when are we going to do it again? And I said, I'm tired. But there is that question of what's next, and we've got this goal of raising $50,000 to put new carpet and padding and lights, and that goes quick. And we're at like 10 to 14,000 maybe. We don't have all the numbers in yet, and we still got to give our portion. But it's like, with our best efforts, this is what we could do. Sandy Creek Community Church, if you're looking to me as a leader and you're asking, what are we going to do next? I'm saying this is falling right in line with what's been on the schedule for me to preach on for a month now. This falls right in line with, we've done what we can do. Let's just chill out for a little bit and see what God can do. Because I tell you, even if we kept busy, there's a chance he's doing something that we're not even paying attention to. Because what we're up to isn't carpets and pews. What we're up to is hearts and minds and transforms lives. Hearts that used to be hopeless, now asking questions of, what do I hope for? People who are saying, okay, I'm finally ready to give Jesus a chance. What does that mean? And instead of saying, well, it means sage is the color of the carpet, we have an answer like, Christ is the only answer that's ever been true in my life, let me tell you. Because, brothers and sisters, we are the church. This is not. And so in line, no, it wasn't a battle getting people to volunteer. And no, it wasn't a battle having people come and buy burgers and snow cones. But there is a battle of Satan telling us that we're responsible for it all because our God says otherwise. He requires a certain amount of us, and he does say work 6 days, rest 1. He does say during the night keep your hands busy, during the day keep your hands busy, and during the night keep them busy too, because you never know which will succeed. But we do serve a God who says if you don't work, you don't eat. We do serve a God who encourages people to work, but he also is a God who says, hey, y'all, stop a minute. Because I've got something for you to see. If the disciples were sitting in that room on Pentecost, keeping busy with religious things, they wouldn't have been available for the flame that took over their tongues. Let's zoom in even further. The city of Jerusalem. What does Jerusalem mean? Jerusalem. Shalom, city of peace. You see, Jerusalem was supposed to be an earthly representation of a holy reality, a glimpse of the divine. But in Matthew 23:37, Jesus comes over the hill and says, oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, city of peace, the city that kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to it. How often would I have gathered you as children together as a hen gathers her brood under her wings, and you were not willing. You see, what used to be a promise of a city that was supposed to represent God is now a promise of a kingdom that is supposed to represent the reality of God. And that's what we're involved in. John the Baptist was proclaiming, the kingdom of God is near. Jesus said the kingdom is proclaimed. And then he says to his disciples, go and proclaim the kingdom. And so what is this kingdom? Well, it's me and you. It's the way we interact. It's the way we live our lives. It's a grabbing to the things that are unshakable. It's walking through the fire. It's turning our mind to where sinning doesn't even make sense anymore and being around a bunch of people that are encouraging that stride towards life. A glimpse of the kingdom of God. My prayer is that anybody could come in here on a Sunday or a Tuesday or a Wednesday and see people loving each other, and they might be told that they're worthless and they're unlovable and that they're sinners. And my prayer is that they see another human treat them the way God treats them, with grace, mercy, and love. I'll meet you exactly where you are because I love you. But I love you too much than to let you stay that way, right? My prayer is that we are not just a church with a name. My prayer is that we are a church that is a glimpse of the reality of God's kingdom. And what Jesus says is, oh, Jerusalem, city of peace, city of peace. City that kills the prophets and stones those sent to it. It's very real to think you belong to God and be cruel to those God sends to you. And the invitation that under my pastorship, if you're here listening, the invitation that I'm going to repeat over and over is that we are invited to be a part of that glimpse that the kingdom of heaven is real. And that kingdom of heaven is a kingdom of peace. Not the kind of peace that shoves things under the carpet, but the kind of peace that surpasses all understanding. The kind of peace that you just know it's going to be okay. The kind of peace that recognizes that even though you are limited in your ability to handle this situation, you got a God who made you, who knows you, and is for you. The kind of peace that is exhibited in a people that don't just trudge through life depressed or complaining, but have hope and care for people deeply. Be still and know that I am God. A little fun Bible practice I like to do is that word be still. Where else do you think of it in the Bible? You want to shout it out when you hear it. That's not shouting. Yeah, there's a storm and Jesus says, be still. How do we come to Jesus so often? Right? Like I come home to a house sometimes where Cassie's pulling out her hair and kids are going crazy and they're upside down hanging from the ceiling and no, they don't do that. But I tell you, I go to God like that sometimes. God, you'll never believe what happened, what this person did to me, or what they say. Oh, they're so wrong, or it's just. And God says, I can calm a storm. Will you let me calm you down real quick? The word "be still" in Hebrew is "rapha," which is very close to the Hebrew word "rapha." One's R-A-P-A, one's R-A-P-H-A, but it's said the same. Rapha and Rapha. You know what? When we let go, that's what Rapha means. You know what the other Rapha means? To heal. Jehovah Rapha means God who heals, right? He's not the God who lets go. Our word is let go. His word is heal. Sometimes the wound gets better when we stop stabbing ourselves. I'm just saying. Jesus asked the man at Bethsaida at the pool, he says, would you be healed? Jesus is offering healing at one hand. What is the other man on the other side? What is his responsibility? To open his hands and receive. To drop his dependence on this miracle or this worldly promise. Would you be healed? Would you let go of your control so that you can grasp onto his? You know, it sounds like a weakness, letting go. God says, my strength is made perfect in your weakness. When we let go, God takes over. Be still. Let go. Give up control. These aren't your reins. Hop out of the driver's seat. And know. That word know is yada. It means to understand primarily through seeing or experiencing, not by philosophical observation, but by actually seeing and touching. It's by being in the boat with Jesus when he says, be still to the storm. It's by being there, walking with Jesus when he's touching people and healing them. It's by Thomas saying, I will never believe unless I see. And he gets to touch the wounds of Jesus. That's what kind of be still and know is. So the invitation is, hey, are you willing to drop your willingness to control things? Are you willing to test God and say, God, will you take the reins if I let go? God, we did this, but I'm willing to see what you're doing. It isn't just a philosophical understand. It's pay attention because I'm going to do it to where you can see it. The repeated echo in the story is, and it's not just the church and the sanctuary, but it's all of our lives and the points where we can't be in control anymore. What does it take for us to believe that he can? We have the testimony of the man who walked on water, calmed storms, had authority over sickness, definitively forgave sins, lived a perfect example, taught perfect wisdom, died a perfect scapegoat, rose again in perfect form, and appeared to many. He's someone we can respect and believe enough to listen to. He's someone we can drop our hands up at, saying, this is yours. You know, there's a difference between giving up and giving up. You ever got so frustrated? He said, I just want to give up. Well, great idea. Give it up to him. Get it out of your hands because look where you got it. And every time I've taken that invitation to hand the reins over to God and see what he can do, it's like he says, thank you, Sean, for getting out of the way. Now pay attention. I got something good coming. And that's the good news I got for you today. It's the same God today, tomorrow, and yesterday. If y'all will stand, so in my research, no coincidence, so our songs are on a rotation. It's just coincidence what songs we land on Sundays, and purely God's hand a year in advance to put Sweet Hour of Prayer on our rotation today, because there's a guy that I was helping with my research that his name's David Ryder, and he wrote Psalm 46 to the tune of Sweet Hour of Prayer. So we've got the words to it. You'll sing with me. God is our refuge and the strength of rest, now and then. Our hearts we never feel His name, the word we mighty declare. No mountains roll into the sea, and waters fierce and stormy. Mountains quake and swelling cry, the Lord our God is our shine. The river flowing grand to streams and glad, our holy name. shall melt before his throne. The Lord of hosts in the dust shall dwell, our fortress God of Israel. We the wonders of the Lord who makes the earth proclaim his word. The Spirit of chariots see as he brings everlasting peace. Be still and know that I am God, and all the nations shall be on. The Lord of hosts with us shall dwell, our fortress God of Israel. God, this week, if we don't be still, will you just put your hand on us and say stop? Because we desire to see what you're doing more than we desire to be in control. Keep us in thy perfect way. Train us in your goodness. And let us love as you have loved us. In Jesus Christ. Through Jesus Christ. Amen.